Garfield Park in Chicago not that long ago, and last week here in the middle of New York City, 1 block from the Lincoln Tunnel. It's really been an extraordinary display. Love to let you know. Thank you all for making that possible. Thanks to my colleagues from Covenant House Barber, who produced this next video showing you what it's like for a young person to walk in the front doors and be greeted by absolute respect and unconditional love.
I don't want pain no more. I don't want no more pain. I ain't gonna see no way. Look at that with no pain. See the rain coming down, but it is not purple.
The intake is about 30 minutes. You meet their basic essential needs.
Over to the stream, this is just a little intro video before we go outside.
Escort the youth up to the floor and give them a tour of the way they can have an idea of what they need to know and where they need to find things and where we eat, where to go, ask questions, assign the youth a bedroom, a new pillow, and a blanket, and hygiene supplies.
One more sipping on my face.
That case manager is responsible for talking with the youth, developing goals, figuring out objectives to help that youth feel comfortable here, feel not judged, feel included. Everyone should be treated with absolute respect and unconditional love. Covenant House continues to do that every single day. I love working here.
I know it won't solve my problem, but I know it makes a difference.
After 20 emotional and challenging months that have been so difficult to navigate, at Covenant House, we continue to ensure that intake is not yet another hurdle for young people. I don't think anyone here takes for granted how important it is to feel safe, comfortable, and supportive when you're tired or scared or both. Hello everyone, I'm Sister Nancy Downing, Executive Director of Covenant House New York, where every year we see hundreds of young people come through our intake process. Covenant House New York stores are always open to all young people who need housing and help, regardless of their
We're setting up
religion,
outside,
sexual
so
orientation, or gender identity or expression. And once a young person walks through the doors, our high-quality programs and services often sort through their experiences and begin to see and create a way forward for themselves. One of their first stops is right here in our brand new federally qualified health center, located on the ground floor and connected to our welcome center to ensure timely and efficient access for our youth, many of whom have not seen a doctor in a long time. As Kevin mentioned, we moved into this brand new shelter last week. As our youth moved in and took a look around, one young woman commented, "Everything here is so pretty. If you only knew where I came from." And a young man said, "I can't wait to wake up in the morning and see the whole building in the daylight." That's because our new Covenant House New York was built for our young people and our mission, and with the express input of our young people. Everything about it, from the layout to the colors on the walls, is meant to facilitate healing and promote growth and stability and independence for them. That's what we mean by purpose-built. All of our services are here. In addition to this health center, we have legal assistance, mental health and wellness, case management, LGBTQ resources, and our anti-human trafficking task force are all on site. Not located in this physical building, but very much a part of our work are our transitional living,
$3 super
young
chat.
programs, as well as
Thanks
our
for us
programs.
for doing this for the kids.
We
Scott
know that
Wilson.
young people who live with us over a longer period of time are more likely, in their own words, to become the best version of themselves, achieving better housing, education, and career outcomes. Nearly 20% of the young people who come to Covenant House New York are survivors of human trafficking, and for them, we have specialized services. We also have a dedicated undisclosed residence where a survivor can live in safety and anonymity. We receive every young person at Covenant House New York with unconditional love and absolute respect, and our support for them is relentless. Among the many reasons a young person might end up experiencing homelessness and seeking safe shelter at Covenant House New York, Systemic racism is one that cannot be ignored. About 95% of our youth are young people of color. The risk of homelessness for young people who are Black and brown is 83% higher than that of their white peers. In the video that follows, we'll hear more from Covenant House staff, former residents, and other experts about systemic racism's effects on our young people across the Covenant House Federation. Let's watch.
You always have to wonder what reality is. You always have to consider how someone is really thinking about you. When you experience racial hatred, your hormones change as if you were always in danger. It makes our brains hypervigilant.
Results in an allostatic load, wear and tear on the body and the mind that people who don't experience racism simply don't have.
There's also the racism of the implicit biases and the structural and systemic force, meaning you can't see it visibly, but it is ever present.
When we take two young people that come here, one is of color, one is not, and we put them in their very similarly situated, same clothes, same educational level, same haircut. We send them out into the community. The young person who is not of color is often hired much faster. So when they go and meet these people who are hiring, statistically speaking, it's going to be someone who does not look like them. And for us, that seems to be something that keeps our young people of color from getting hired as rapidly.
So what we see when our youth show up in our services is that this can present with physical and mental stress that presents itself in different ways through depression, through low self-esteem. Physically, we might see people with headaches, chest pains, struggling with obesity, addressing issues such as smoking or
The breakout room starts at 9 o'clock.
Systemic oppression plays a big role. Systems that are already put.
This is called Candlelight House. This is where youths go when they're homeless.
Foster care system, because you are a person of color or because you are indigenous to the land, whatever the case may be, literally your life is already written for you. Unfortunately, a lot of our young people don't understand that and just looks at the world in a way that's just, this world is against me and that's that.
It shows up in lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, lack of connection to the community.
The discrimination in housing is really evident when realtors and people who are selling their homes are guiding people into certain properties and into certain neighborhoods. Discrimination in housing leads to segregation, which leads to segregated schools.
We have to be explicitly clear on why.
This is very interesting, guys.
In which our Black, brown, indigenous youth, our LGBTQ youth, are more likely to be homeless. We have an obligation, indeed an imperative, to speak the truth.
If you come from a place of generational poverty, then all you've known is insecurity, whether it's food, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education resources, all you've known is insecurity. And a lot of our young people are coming from just those kinds of backgrounds.
It is really a point for Covenant House to
Is it making you bored? Sorry, Brad.
In order to help them move beyond some
Sorry,
of
it's
the
making you
challenges
bored.
that they're experiencing in their communities, whereby they don't necessarily feel accepted or a part of. And a part of human nature is to feel like you're a part of a community, that you are welcomed. By other people, regardless of whether they look like you or not.
George Floyd's murder occurring when it did forced people that would not ordinarily pay attention. It forced people to think about and look at racist systems in our country and how those systems impact Black and brown young people.
We're not afraid to counter this. And that's what we do here at Covenant House. We're not afraid to back. We let people know what he's saying. These young people just want to do different from what they experience. we're showing them what they can be. And sometimes it's like they already know, but they're just pulling it out. And we're showing that unconditional love, because I think that's one way that racism ends, is through love.
Young people often come to us feeling that their story has already been written. That's why at Covenant House, it is so important that we welcome every young person with absolute respect and unconditional love. Good evening, sleepers. I'm Dr. Shakima North, Vice President of Youth Development, Equity, and Inclusion here at Covenant House, New York. It is really good to be here with you tonight, and thank you so much for sleeping out. Here at Covenant House, New York, we work very hard to ensure each young person who comes to us is met with love, and that love is visible and felt in every single interaction with them. We are committed to meeting young people wherever they are on their journey with patience, kindness, and gentleness, and to celebrating who they are without hesitation. Many of our young people have never experienced that kind of love and acceptance before. In our CupWorks program, young people can continue their education, they can apply for college, they can learn how to write a resume, they can use state-of-the-art technology in our tech lab and secure a job or start a career. They also will work on key life skills that will help them to manage their emotions, to budget, and to save. It is not all work though, because recreation is important. We have dedicated spaces like this one, Pride Hall, the one where I'm in now, where we can give young people free reign
You are
to explore their
outside.
creativity. There's a
Just tell you you are
non-denominational chapel,
outside.
outdoor spaces, a gymnasium with a recreational basketball, with a regulation basketball court. And then once youth find their footing, they can work in their earnest to do well in our independent living program.
Sorry, this
They
is
can work with our
boring. This is
supportive
very
housing programs
interesting
that
for
are
me.
all located in the outer boroughs.
Because it keeps you
When young
off the
people
streets.
really lean into the programs and services that they have, the options for them are limitless.
Not
We
yet.
are here for young people at every step of their journey to independence. And speaking of steps, another member of our team is waiting for you right down those stairs. Thanks, Shaq, and well, hello, sleepers. My name is Renata Alexis. I'm the senior
The
director
breakout
of
session is going to be at 9 o'clock, so
Thank you guys for
we
coming.
got about 45 minutes. So we got a video playing right now.
We couldn't let you go without showing you our front door, so please follow. And here we are. Thank you all so much for all you have done for Covenant House and will continue to. We appreciate you.
I almost said good morning. I'm sorry. We're back on GMA 3.
But you know what? Both Rob, George, and Stray, 7 minutes in, they said good morning. You made it at least past the halfway point.
I got you. But I want y'all to, this is a very important piece to me. And I'm so glad and thank you here at GMA 3 for sharing this. Do you know that each year in the U.S. alone, more than 4.2 million young people, ages 13 to 25, face a period of homelessness? Covenant
What's
House.
going on here is Covenant
To
House.
support these young people overcome adversity, and you are
The breakout session is going to be at 9
inspiring
o'clock.
women who are sharing their stories of resilience and determination.
At 18 years old, Nikita Young's life turned upside down.
Can you just convey to us what it was like in your life at the time that you found Covenant House?
It was a very low point for me. It was a transitional time where I didn't know which way to go.
Facing housing insecurity and with only $130 in her pocket, she credits Covenant House as her safety net.
I went in and I asked someone, hey, is this, a shelter, or could anybody guide me? And it's like, yeah, but there's nobody here now. The intake staff don't come until the morning, and unfortunately, there's no beds. Everybody's in for the night.
So where did you sleep that night, though?
That night, I rode the train. I was on the 7 train, and I just rode it back and forth from 42nd to Flushing, because I just didn't want to not come back in time.
We're gonna be going to a breakout room in about 40 minutes.
Do you have anywhere to go? And once I was like, honestly, no. It was like, well, that's the first step. You have somewhere to be now. And then they took it from there.
A lifeline of support for Nikita and for thousands all across the country.
Being at that pivotal age, it's hard, because you're not a kid anymore, but you're not fully an adult. It's a good place to start to build a firm foundation for yourself.
That support also critical for Lachey Riles, who ran away from home into Covenant House as a teen in need.
I think this is bigger than his premiere. This is to stop homeless among millions.
I may have still been on the street. Lachey's now thriving with a beautiful family and a career in finance. They did offer me medical and mental health assistance.
Sorry, Sadie.
The counseling was excellent and helped me so much.
This is bigger than gambling. This is homelessness.
For nearly 50 years, Covenant House has provided shelter and resources to help young people on their path to independence. And here in New York City, they're celebrating the grand opening of their newest building. These are the classrooms. And executive director, Sister Nancy Downing, is giving us
This is very big,
This is the first time in the 50-year history.
It's a very big event. This happens once a year.
That something was built specifically for Covenant House.
That's right. It's purpose-built for these young people, and with young people helping us with the design.
From the classroom to the living area, it's an intentional space to help young people heal. I'm just visualizing the young person coming through.
I'm donating whatever I'm making in super chats today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important.
I'm donating my time.
Because that's what you would do in your own home, and that's what we want to recreate here as well.
A welcoming gesture that makes a world of difference. For Nikita, she pursued her master's in mental health counseling and is now paying it forward, working to help at-risk.
I'm outside.
What if a young person is watching this?
I'm literally outside.
In very dire circumstances, and they're afraid to ask for help.
I'm outside my sleeping bag right now.
To a young person.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, and people are here to help you. Nobody could do it on their own. No one. And that's all you need to remember, because all it takes is just asking for help.
And these are just two of many, many success stories that you see, and to have Nikita now working with at-risk youth, because she can really relate to them. And tomorrow, Covenant House
This is called Sleep Out in New York City.
Sleep Out event. It's a night of solidarity with young people, homelessness, with virtual and in-person events at 17 different locations. These are executives. These are people from all walks of life going out on the street, really experiencing what it is to be homeless. And the
Is Alvarez a lesbian? Who knows?
Covenant House provide 24/7 care to young people in 31 cities across 6 countries, and you can learn more about that on our website.
It's fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know we had a rocky couple of transitions here, but we had to share yesterday's tour with Robin Roberts of our new shelter and hear from Nikita and Lachey, whose stories are absolutely incredible and get me every time. My name is Colleen Bell. You might recognize my name from the thousands of donation notifications in your inbox. I'm sorry. And I'm coming to you from the art room at the brand new Covenant House New York shelter. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and for all of your incredible efforts leading up to this moment. I hope that as you listen to Nikita and
I've been advertising this for a month. I don't know where you've been.
Thousands, and through your fundraising and
something close to my heart.
You are ensuring that their stories are heard and that their dreams are realized. Tonight's Sleep Out has raised nearly $2 million to shelter and care for youth at Covenant House. And I just want to say that again, nearly $2 million. That is unprecedented and amazing, and only happens because each and every one of you spreads the word and makes sure that your family, friends, and coworkers take notice of the youth homelessness crisis. And you heard Nikita say it in the video, you know, if young people need help, they need to ask for it. And by bringing the homelessness crisis into the light, by talking about it with friends and family, you're making it easier for them to ask for help. We truly cannot thank you enough. And I can't thank you enough. So I've asked some of your fellow sleepers to help me acknowledge what you all have achieved together. But before we get into it, I do want to make mention, you might have seen some of my teammates tonight wearing our new Covenant House and Sleep Out swag. You can purchase your own Sleep Out swag tonight on the website, and our swag store was so generously sponsored by Geico. For years, you've asked us to make this available, so now it exists. Happy shopping and excited to see those pictures in your Covenant House gear. But now I'd like to invite a very special guest to join me on screen, a Covenant House board member, Mr. John Dickerson, whose day job as the chief political analyst for CBS News. I hoped he would say yes, and I'm very thankful he did. So thank you so much for joining us, John.
Thank you, Colleen. You know, every time I see your name, when a donation comes in through my name and yours comes up, a little bell rings. And so it's been a great last few months or so. Every time I see your name, there's like this happy chime of donation. So it's nice to actually put a face with all those happy donations.
I'm so glad that's working. That's a plan, just associating me with, yes, another donation.
Exactly. So
we're going to be going out to a breakout room in 30 minutes.
2 million raised, 400 sleepers. There are a lot of people to thank. I'm incredibly proud to be a part of the Covenant House family, and I'm pleased to be back, kicking off this evening tonight in thanking our youngest supporters. We'll start with Lucas and Maddox Thanks y'all for sleeping out on a school night.
Bringing families into Sleep Out has been a real silver lining of the past year. So we're so happy to have you with us. Thank you. John, now you're not the only returning sleeper here tonight. We actually have 124 people returning, including 22 second-time sleepers.
Welcome back to all of you. And we've got a lot, I mean, those are the second timers. And you know, joining up for the first time during a pandemic takes a special person, and we're really thankful to those of you who said yes. 23 are back for the third year, and 19 are here for the fourth time. This is my fourth time, so there are 18 other, I guess, happy fourth timers.
And once you hit your 5, we do have to call you out by name. Jeff Seidler, Jim Carwell, Ilda Rastador, Ginny Elliott, Rishi Gupta, Ryan Silver, Mark Madera, Surendra Prasad, Mark Hertland, Charles Lerner, and Cliff Thomas. Congratulations on Sleep Out number 5.
Well, and it doesn't get you get called out when you go beyond 5 too. So we'll start at Sleep Out number 6. That roster includes Marco Sonnenberg, Nick Ribovic, Dan Madania, Peter Vanderhyde, Bill Schwanneweed, Dom Morandi, Andy Field, and Evan Frost.
And our 7th year sleepers are Josh Henney, Ned Quinn, Andrea Visser, Daniela Costa, Joe Stampone, Lauren Aguiar, Jason Castelluccio, and Chris Sweeney. Thanks for being here, lucky number 7.
And they aspire next year to be in the 8th year category, which includes this year those who slept out 8 times: Mary Malin,
this is not
Fred
towards
Weiss,
me. This is getting
Ahmed
donated
Yearwood,
to
Mark Kaplan,
Covenant House.
John Knapp, Raul J. Singh, David Acker, Alex Foster,
and we have our 9-time sleepers: Jeremy Pratt, Sean Byrne, Arvin Chari, Ed Ortiz, Caroline Fitzpatrick Green, Tom Gaffney, and Luke. Maureen Hennigan and Christina D'Aquazilicualo hit double digits with sleep out number 10 tonight.
And now to our most loyal sleepers. Matt Schmelik, Andy Bastillo, Phil Andrick, and Brian Cashman.
And I think others in there, John, we have Leah Rayburn and Todd Monahan, who are logging night number 12. And Kevin Ryan has been bragging about this being his 23rd sleep out. So if you see him, please tell him congratulations on number 23.
I think he was born sleeping out. I look forward to joining all of you in the parking lot tonight. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you so much, John. It's so nice to see and to hear so many familiar names, and I can't wait to see some of your faces tonight too. But we're always just as excited to meet our first-time sleepers. This year we have 298 first-timers. That's more than half of our sleepers tonight who are joining us in New York City. A few of these first-timers really understood the assignment and went above and beyond with their fundraising and recruitment efforts. Our 2021 Sleep Out Rookies of the Year are Sally Miller, Joyelle Ray Alexander, and my next guest, Libby Cantrell, who was one of the very first people to register back in August and went on to lead Team PIMCO up the leaderboard. Welcome to your first Sleep Out, Libby.
Thanks, Chloe. I'm so excited to be here, to be sleeping out in New York City.
Well, that's not true.
I think hopefully we'll hold.
That was not true.
I joined the board of Covenant House New York
That's getting delivered. That's getting delivered in person.
Away by the mission, the organization.
But it's okay,
staff,
Susan.
And the young people, and even more blown away by how easy it really was to fundraise.
Believe what you gotta believe.
The mission of Covenant House resonates with people. People really
Believe what you gotta believe.
The really important work that the organization is doing. I wanted to just give a special shout out to Team PIMCO. We were a very small
This is not about me tonight.
team to start out with earlier. Just 2 months ago, we've grown. We far exceeded our fundraising goals. So a shout out to all my wonderful PIMCO colleagues. I can't wait to see you at the Javits Center. Super excited to be sleeping out with you tonight. And other folks who were really excited about sleeping out, who also signed up immediately, Albert Lowe, Sarah Levitt, and Tara Seltzer were one of the first folks to sign up for sleep out. So excited to be sharing this experience with them as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Libby. We're so happy when our sleepers are excited to get started. It just sets everything off on the right tone.
Hello?
So I'm hoping you can help us recognize some of our top fundraising superstars tonight.
I would love to. So we're going to start out with the $10,000 club. A lot of names here, really testing my middle-aged memory here. So I'm going to read them off. Aaron Sandonato, David Cornish, John Henney, Ethan Wiener, Arvin Achari, Ned Quinn, Todd Monahan, Lisa Pintner, Terry Burke, Tom McGee, and Rahul Jazzy. Congratulations, 10,000ers.
And I'm looking at the leaderboard and seeing some of those people have already moved into the 20K club, which is amazing. And you're in great company. And we had a few last minute additions to the 10K club. Josh Henney is in there as well, and David Cornish. And the rest of this year's 20K club includes Jordan Seelig, David Acker, Cliff Thomas, Leah Rayburn, Andy Bastillo, Carolyn Philippe, Dom Morandi, Jim Carwell, and Lou Rauschenberger.
Amazing. And then the people who really are in a league of their own, really give us all something to aspire to. Lauren Aguiar made it to the 30K club. Phil Andrick is in the 40K club. Greg Smith, the 50K club.
See you in about 10 minutes.
The 60K club. And
You come
finally,
back.
a massive thank you to two amazing
See you in about 10 minutes when
fundraisers,
his
a real power couple.
when his thing is over.
Marco and Susan Sonnenberg. Susan raised nearly $80,000, and Marco honestly gave everyone a run for their money on the leaderboard, especially for those of us at PIMCO who are super competitive. He raised more than $300,000, which is truly amazing.
Unbelievable. trying to keep up with Marco is a pipe dream. He's absolutely unstoppable. But I know, again, you all really did such amazing and incredible fundraising efforts. I'm refreshing the website every 5 minutes. I saw Greg Smith jumped up into the 70K club too. And we're just on a roll. So thank you all. Please keep going. And we love and appreciate you so, so much. And Libby, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much. Can't wait to see you all.
Next, we have one of our 20K club members in our green room. This person also took home one of my favorite awards for the highest number of gifts. While Josh Henney and Greg Smith, you guys got pretty close. You passed 100 donations each. That's amazing. Carolyn Philippe is the person who did some really serious grassroots fundraising, receiving donations from 160 different people. Carolyn, you're amazing.
Well, thank you, Colleen. It's so nice to be here. Hi, sleepers. I'm coming to you tonight from the Bronx, and I'm honored to be a part of Team Cisco. We've been gearing up for the sleep out, well, since last year. Our support for Covenant House is so ingrained in who we are as a company. So I want to start tonight by saying hi to my 524 colleagues, sleeping out in 16 countries from the US to Mexico City.
And we are so, so thankful for Cisco's partnership too. I know as the night goes on, we'll all be joining our WebEx rooms, so for some interactive discussion, and it's truly all thanks to Cisco that we could have these virtual experiences. Carolyn, I was hoping you could help me with some shout outs to some of our other amazing teams tonight as well.
Of course. This year we launched our first official New York City Corporate Sleep Out Challenge. Company sleep out teams were assigned a division according to the number of sleepers on their roster. The team at the top of the leaderboard in each division was recognized each week. And wow, did we have some competition.
We sure did. And AGP Nikon, you guys started fundraising only a couple of weeks ago, but it did not take long for you to shoot up the leaderboard and take the top prize in Division 4. Congrats.
Okay.
6 is a very popular number of team members, so there was some heated competition in Division 3. Morgan Stanley and Eagle Rock were each in the running at one point, but in the end it was Pimco who took the top spot with our friend Libby. And there were 2 contenders in Division 2. East Still Secured had more members with 31, but Carolyn, I think you know who ended up taking that title in Division 2. That was Team Cisco all the way. Thank you all so much.
Okay, so we're out here. So we're at Sleep Out in New York City. We're outside. Should have done some trivia as well. I should have, right? How's the night going? Pretty good. I don't care how boring this is. This is a real thing that could happen. Ugh. It is 12 minutes till the breakout room, mental health and awareness. So far, it looks pretty good. Thanks to everybody for coming in. This is a very, I've been waiting for this night for a long time. I've been waiting for this night for a while. You know, this has been a couple months in the making. Here we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep. How you doing?
Hi, Samantha. Hi, Brian. Hi.
Hello.
How are you? Hi, Ross.
Hi, how you doing? This is a very good project we're doing tonight. Keeping kids off the street and stuff.
Okay, with the line of questioning. Hi, Ross.
Yeah, I'm simultaneously doing a multicast tonight. This is because I've been promoting this for like about 3 months. So I'm donating a lot to this program. It's a good thing we're doing. Very good thing.
So Samantha? Yes. Well, for today, so we have yourself, right? We have Brian, and then Jason, right?
We have Jason here. Howard.
Okay, and then Ross.
Yes, Ross.
Okay, so I just want to, is everyone okay with the line of questioning?
Ask away. Ask away. Sure. I'm outside.
Sure. Okay. All right. Okay. So anything you guys want to discuss before 9 o'clock, before we get started?
What the last couple of sleepouts, it's been sort of like moderator asking questions and then us responding. Is that how we're doing it?
Yes. So I will ask questions, and what I'll do is the questions like we relate into like post-trauma stress disorder or anything related to the care of our people in terms of like counseling. I'll refer those questions to you, Samantha, if that's okay. And then Jason, anything with programming. I'm sorry, Brian, anything with programming, I will relate to you. Is that okay? And then Jason, your experience in the program.
Right.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. All right, wonderful. And we're starting at 9, correct?
Yes. 7 minutes.
I think so, yeah. So 7 minutes.
So how's everyone so far? Everything is amazing. The program is amazing.
The building's really, really nice. So Brian and I both work there, so we're very happy in our new space and still figuring things out a little bit, but it's been great.
actually
When I
here.
first saw it, I just started crying. You're loving it, right, Brian?
Yeah,
I
it's
started
great.
crying when I saw it. Yeah. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, so this is the second time I'm actually doing it here in the office, but I did a tour a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, wonderful.
Big difference since I've been here in the 80s, so.
I know. Well, I can't wait to hear about your experience when we get started.
Yeah.
I see we got some early joiners here. I see Matthew and Ross. How are you guys?
Pretty good. I've been waiting my time. You know, I've been outside for about 50 minutes already. You know, I got my sleeping bag and taking this very serious.
Jason,
You know.
I can't wait to hear about your experience back, you said in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Long time. Big difference, big changes, right?
Yeah, I was just talking to Kevin, and I told Kevin that everything happened in the 80s, so.
Yeah.
I was exposed to a lot.
I know. Oh, forget it. Yeah. And I think it was different in the 80s. In the 80s, I think you were seeing, of young people experiencing homelessness, you would see them more so on the street, whereas now, they're sort of hidden.
Yeah.
Right?
100% correct.
The big difference that, right? Yeah. We got some more people joining.
It's a great program you guys have. It really is. I've been promoting this, like I said, on my channel for the last 3 months.
And for anyone, if I direct a question at you and you feel like it's more appropriate for another staff member, just let me know. Okay? All right. Okay. More people joining. Got 4 minutes before we can start. We got more people joining. Brian, are you at home or are you in the office right now?
I'm at home.
Oh, yeah, at home. Okay. 3 more minutes.
I wish I was roasting marshmallows. It's not that cold outside. It's actually in the 60s still. Usually it would be a little bit colder than this.
about 2 more minutes. We got a lot of participants. Welcome, Keith. I see Ben, Danielle, welcome. Lauren, welcome. Matthew, Wendy. Got 1 more minute before we start. Okay, well, we can get started. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Sleep Out. I'd like to thank you all before we get started for your amazing fundraising efforts. Kudos to you all. Tonight, we are going to have a discussion about the mental health care challenge that young people experiencing homelessness may face. We're going to shine the light on the stigma of mental health and encourage a dialogue about the fragility of young people in our chaotic world right now, especially those experiencing housing and food insecurity. The format will be a panel discussion moderated by me. Our guest speakers will be Covenant House staff and Covenant House alum. I will be asking questions to the panel, and then we'll save time at the end to have questions from all of you. But before we begin, I'd like to know who are our first-time participants. So for the first-time sleepers, if you can type your name in the chat to share who's sleeping out with us for the first time. Can you share that in the chat? Your names? Okay, all right. Welcome, Aaron, Matthew, Natasha, Lauren, welcome. Lisa, Amelia, and Austin. Welcome, Abby. Thank you for participating for the Sleep Out. Now you know you're on the hook because we're going to be bothering you every year to do it again. Welcome, Ethan, Robin, Addie, and Jim. Thank you for participating in the Sleep Out. I hope you have a really great experience so you can come back and do it again. And and hope you reach your goal. Congratulations again on your fundraising efforts. Okay, so we have some returners, I'm sure. For our returners, can you share with me the number of times that you participated in the Sleep Out? If you can put that in the chat. How many times have you slept out so far? Okay, we got 4, 2 years. Nice. 2, 3. 1 in 2019. 7 and 8. Nice. Oh, wow. So my second time. 5.
Totally outside.
Second time tonight. 4. We got 8. Oh, wow. Okay. We got 2. 8. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your returning and again for your fundraising. Okay, I got someone else, 3rd time this year. All right, we want to keep you coming back. And for those who have returned, thank you for recruiting others, some of our newbies, to participate because we want to grow this movement. So thank you again. Keep it coming. Okay, so we'll begin, and so I want to start with, we're going to start with some introductions where we have a formal introduction from the panel, and the panel will introduce yourself, and then you're going to share why this topic is important to you. So I'll begin. My name is Yvonne Nelson, Vice President of Donor Relations within our amazing development team that helps to raise money and funds to keep our doors open for our kids. I've been doing this work for 13 years now, and this topic is important to me because challenges with mental health is a serious issue in the Black community. For us, it continues and always will continue to be characterized by layers of trauma and exposure to violence, in addition to historical dehumanization and oppression, and also has evolved to present day racism. So that's why this topic is important to me. Samantha, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm Samantha Alvarez Bennowitz. I'm the Senior Director of Mental Health and Anti-Human Trafficking Services at Covenant House, New York. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. This topic is important to me because I've worked at Covenant House now for almost 4 years. Prior to that, I worked in child welfare, and I've worked with a lot of young people who've experienced a lot of trauma, just from, the world that they've been growing up in. And I've seen how it's impacted them in adverse ways, and has made it difficult for them to cope, and is part of the reason often that they're here with us at Covenant House. So I really enjoy the work that I do, and I'm really glad to be here tonight and talk to you all about it.
Thank you, Samantha. Brian?
Hi everyone, my name is Brian Ferwena. I'm the Deputy Director of Mental Health Services at our Manhattan 41st Street location. I have been with Covenant House almost 9 years now, in a variety of roles, and right now I act in kind of supervising our social work mental health team at our crisis shelter. And the reason this work is important to me is the young people. I used to be one of the resident advisors doing direct care on our residential floors many years ago, and I've been able to see some of our young people who I worked with almost 8-9 years ago go from their first time walking through our doors, and then being 28, 29 years old recently and in their own apartments. And I've seen them have to deal with their struggles, with everything they've gone through, all the trauma in their lives, and how that's affected their mental health. But the support that we were able to give to them, our case managers, our social workers, our staff, being able to support them through that, and being able to, give them that support to allow them to grow into these individuals and living their lives in the community, and building relationships with that. Like, I had a young person I just recently was working with last year who I knew her when she was 18. She's 27 years old, has her own apartment in the Bronx, and still has her struggles with mental health, but at times, but she still seeks out our support, and we're there for her. And she's been thriving ever since then, from that very first time she came through our doors as an 18-year-old girl. So that's why I do this work, and why it's important to me, those kind of young people.
Thank you, Brian. Jason?
So I'm Jason Giuliano. I've been a business and technology executive for 25 years or so. Serial entrepreneur. So I have a passion to serve young adults, the youth, in specifically inner cities, to help mentor them, provide them job skills, provide them guidance to either get more advanced education or skills that they need to be successful in the workforce today. The reason why I'm passionate about it is I actually was a resident of Covenant House back in the 80s. So I've been a resident twice at Covenant House, and if it wasn't for Covenant House, I'll probably be like dead in the middle of the street somewhere. So I thank Covenant House for the support they gave me back in the 80s.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so our first line of questioning, Jason, these questions are directed for you. So Jason, what did your mental health journey look like during your stay at Covenant House?
This is probably going to be long-winded because I've had a crazy halfway into where Covenant House has been now. And I had the opportunity to go to a new shelter in New York City. And back in the 80s, the old Covenant House, which is right next door, I'm actually at the new shelter today, I heard it used to be a detention center. And when you went there in the 80s, it actually looked like a detention center. So as a 15-year-old going into that type of facility, you're scared, but the caseworkers at Covenant House just gave me like that mentality that this is home, and they gave me the love and care. They fed me, they made sure I went to school, they helped me get part-time jobs. The first time I came to Covenant House, they actually put me in a male teenager townhouse, which was more of this family ecosystem where they gave you tours, the caseworker checked in on you, you had to make sure you did your bed. So that was the closest I ever came to a family. And then I came back because I couldn't find like a stable house, so I had to actually come back to Covenant House because I was like living in the streets in a park bench, and I was like eating out of the garbage, and it was pretty depressing, and I needed help. And then when I left Covenant House the second time, they helped me get like a shared room environment. I finished off school, and I'm here today because of Covenant House. So in terms of mental health, and I told a couple of leaders at Covenant House this recently. I was like shamed that I went through homelessness, and I never told anyone. And I actually had a business executive coach last year, and I had like this back operation. I was going through some trauma then, but she told me, you're like holding back on stuff, and I told her my story. And she was like, well, you got to tell your story to yourself. And I videotaped myself, and I told my story to myself. I was like tears were coming down my eyes, and I still have the video. But that was like a big boulder that came off my shoulders, and I felt like so lighter after I told the story to myself. And literally, like within 24 hours, I reached out to Covenant House, and I said, listen, I'm here to serve. There's so much I could do for the youth, and I need this not just for myself, but the youth needs it too. And since then, I've been all in serving Covenant House. So that's my story, and it's progression, right? I tell the story more and more now, without tears, like now, right? But when I first told it, it took me like 5 times before I stopped crying about it. So
Thank you so much for sharing, Jason. Thank you for your strength. And by you sharing your story, you're helping others, and you're giving them courage to also share, and to also not be ashamed of what they've gone through. So thank you so much. So this next question is for Samantha. Samantha, can you discuss post-traumatic stress disorder as it relates to our young people and their life after Covenant House?
Sure. Thank you, Jason, for sharing. That was incredible, and I'm sure it took a lot of strength. So post-traumatic stress disorder is probably the number one diagnosis that we sort of give and that we see at Covenant House. Most of the young people that walk through our doors do not have significant mental health issues. So by significant, I mean, schizophrenia or major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder. But almost every one of our young people have experienced trauma. Just being homeless on its own, as you can imagine, and as Jason was talking about, is a huge trauma. And then often so many of our young people have experienced more than that. The things that have led them to be homeless at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, right? So abuse and neglect, and we work with young people who've been sex trafficked. And so the way that impacts you is that, you know, you often have a difficult time sleeping at night, right? You have nightmares. We have young people who say, you know, I can't sleep at night because, you know, it's just too difficult. I'm too afraid, or I have these terrible nightmares. People have flashbacks. I had one young person once tell me, you know, I walk downstairs sideways because I can't trust that someone's not going to come behind me. And that's not because something necessarily happened to her on a staircase, but it's just that constant feeling of anxiety that a lot of our young people report. So those symptoms sort of manifest, and it makes it difficult at times for our young people to sort of function, quote unquote, normally, right? To hold down a job, or just again, when you're not sleeping, right, it makes it hard to do a lot of things. So that's one of the things that we see often at Covenant House, and the way to treat PTSD is through talk therapy. So sort of just exactly what Jason was talking about, right? Just talking about what's happened to you, and working through some of that, and, you know, working on your coping skills. We have groups every day at our shelter site that specifically work on in mindfulness and breathing techniques and things that, you know, for our young people that actually honestly help everybody, right? What to do when you're upset, when your feelings are heightened, or when things are really stressful. So that's some of the work that we do in all of our programs. You know, as Brian mentioned, Brian works in our shelter program, but we also have programs throughout the Bronx, transitional living programs, scattered site apartment programs, our mental health department. I feel very lucky because we've grown to the size. We have 15 mental health providers, and we work with every program that Covenant House New York has. So any young person in any of our programs who's interested in mental health services is able to access mental health services. They don't have to have a diagnosis. They don't have to, you know, have anything, you know, have been in treatment in the past or anything along those lines. Any young person who wants to meet with a social worker or meet with a psychiatrist can do that.
Thank you so much, Samantha, and thank you for the important work that you're doing. Really, really amazing work. Okay, so this question is for everyone on the panel to answer. From your professional opinion, what work does Covenant House, what work should Covenant House do to continue to do to address and combat stigma? You want to start with answering this one, Brian? Could I repeat the question? Did you get it?
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I feel like I kind of stuttered there. Sorry.
No problem.
Go ahead.
Yeah, stigma is something we see very often with our young people. It's, you know, partly related to their family upbringing, potentially their religious upbringing, or just their community upbringing. And stigma is something we try and address by giving the youth their own self-determination. We are a completely choice program at Covenant House throughout all our departments, but especially with our mental health department. So we give the youth that power, that it's their choice whether they want to meet with us, whether they want any services, whether they want social work services, supportive housing, psychiatric services, medication. It's their choice. And that's one of the ways we address stigma, because a lot of these young people have grown up in systems where they don't have that choice, right? The stigma's around mental health, and, you know, I'm being forced to see a therapist. I'm being forced to go to the doctor. I'm being forced to take this medication. And that creates that stigma where mental health is bad. I'm bad. They're making me do this. And it just becomes something where a young person can become very uncomfortable. So we try and empower them. We try and make it their choice on what they want to do. And then as part of it also, it's the language around it that we use to try and address stigma. We try and meet our young people where they're at. That's one of the things our team often uses, and, you know, almost all Covenant House uses for the staff. In our team in particular, we try and use language that kind of emphasizes their choice, right? So instead of saying you're going to meet with your social worker for a therapy session, oftentimes we'll just say, you know, do you want to meet with Mr. Brian for a check-in, right? So it's just letting you know that we can just check in, have a chat, just get to know each other. And that's where we're able to then create that engagement with the young people and really get the buy-in and show them that this is for them. Like, this is not forced on them or anything. This is their choice, their power. And I think the language is a big part of addressing that stigma, because they've often been powerless throughout their lives for one reason or another, and this is our way of enabling them to get that power and address some of that stigma and show them that mental health is something that they can continue to work on.
Thanks for coming in, Jen.
Thing I would say that we definitely do in all our sites that we try with mental health is we offer groups, like Samantha mentioned earlier. Having groups when they can be with other young people that are possibly going through the same mental health concerns can be helpful, because oftentimes they can feel like they're alone, right? There's some shame and guilt around their mental health and what they're going through. But when they come to a group where they're with other young people that are going through some of the same challenges, that are trying to learn the same coping skills and trying to learn the same mindfulness techniques, it can help them see that they're not alone in experiencing this. So that's another way we try and address the stigma, by just giving them a place where they can be with their peers and not feel alone.
Thank you, Brian. Jason, you want to answer this question?
Repeat the question, sorry.
Sure. From your professional opinion, what work does and should Covenant House do to continue to address and combat stigma?
So what I think is what is extremely important is during the intake process. You know, as you know, these residents come through intake, really identify, you know, what they're going through, right, and build, like, you know, persona, like, you know, whether they were kicked out of their house or, you know, they're going through, you know, sex trafficking or drugs or what have you, and then really cater the program related to their personal profile. And it's more than that, right? So it's even after, you know, they finish and they leave Covenant House, you know, doing, you know, check-ins and, you know, getting them to understand it's okay to receive help, right? The house is there for them to provide them, you know, the mental support that they need, including job skills, healthcare if needed. But just more than anything else, you have that support structure behind you, so you're not alone, right? You know, we're here to help, and you know, we're here to help you. I think as a teenager, I mean, and I'm speaking for myself, so you feel alone. You're extremely vulnerable, and you know, just reinitiating that to, you know, the residents that come in, you know, give them that extra push to, you know, eliminate some of those vulnerabilities that they have. I think that's important.
Thank you, Jason. Samantha?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just add on. I think, you know, stigma's hard, right? And I think things in our kind of world and community have been getting better around mental health stigma, for sure. I mean, I think it's one thing that's I feel like has come out of the pandemic is people have realized how difficult and how stressful things can be, and the last year and a half has been for everyone in the world. And I think we for sure have seen more young people at Covenant House meeting with us. And I think part of that is because it's becoming more normalized to meet with somebody and to talk about what's going on with you, which is good. I think that's a good thing. But as Brian mentioned, you know, we really try to keep things casual when we can in the mental health department. So, you know, we have before the pandemic, and now that we're in our brand new beautiful space, we're going to go back to this, but the social workers would have lunch with the young people in the cafeteria. We sort of stopped doing that during the pandemic because we didn't have a cafeteria anymore. Young people were eating on the floors separately, and now we have this nice big beautiful space, and we have outdoor space where the young people can eat, and so we can go back to some of that, because it takes away some of that separation and stigma when people are just gathering together and chatting, and when young people or anybody feels more comfortable talking, it usually helps lead to better engagement. So those are some of the things that we try to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to add to that, right? So when you go through that process, right, as a teenager, you know, you may not be able to penetrate that teenager when you're talking to them during counseling services. But if you grab, dinner or lunch with them or play ping pong, for instance, they may open up more. So this journey that you have to make sure that you have touch points throughout that journey with them to make sure that they open up. And when they do open up, you're there to support them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And for me, real quickly, I read something that I just wanted to share that I thought was interesting that's related to this topic. 1 in 4 adults suffers from a diagnosis of mental disorder in a given year, with many people suffering from more than one mental disorder or challenge. If not that, and you know someone who this issue impacts. So basically, this issue impacts us all. So why stigmatize it? We should educate ourselves and others on this issue and be more mindful when it comes to using negative words and language like crazy, insane, OCD, or referring to someone as retarded. So just being cognizant of our language and our everyday language that we use, that we tend to normalize, but not realizing that it's very offensive to others. So just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, I'll bring up something else. Like during school, I was actually diagnosed 5 years ago with ADD and dyslexia, and I was decent in school, but I had to try really hard. And then I remember during my vocabulary exams, I had to actually memorize the words. That's part of dyslexia. You actually have to. It's a picture image, right? But that's not a mental health issue. That's my superpower, right? I look at things in a different lens, and I couldn't be where I'm at without that. I mean, I'm a critical thinker, and I think it takes someone to say, hey, you learn differently. You're not stupid just because you don't do it this way. You have a superpower that you probably haven't identified it, but we'll help you identify that for you.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. So, Jason, what did you need to strengthen your mental health and wellness when you were a young person living at Covenant House?
Can-do attitude, make it happen. I just kept on. I was a dreamer all the time. And I knew that I was put in this world not to be stuck,
never give up
to the Bronx. That there was always more. I didn't know what that more was. I was a dreamer, and just make it happen. Just keep on, and it came with me throughout now. I mean, I literally I was telling Kevin, your CEO, that. I just sold my business a couple of weeks ago to one of the largest accounting firms in the country. And it's that make it happen attitude. Just get it done. Don't take no. How many times people told me no? You gotta keep on going.
Exactly. We know that as a fundraiser. You hear no so many times.
Yeah, just keep on going,
Yes.
No answers. Yes. So that's all my ears here is yes.
This pandemic's been very hard on people.
Thank you. You answered my second question because that's how it impacted
tough.
you as the person
the last
you
year
are
or so.
Today. So, Jason, how did Covenant House
work from other
staff
job,
support you in this journey, in your journey?
and
so excuse my language, but they were on my ass all the time. My caseworkers.
So I know what it is to almost be homeless. I was actually homeless for 2 weeks, like 3 years ago, and it's very hard.
And I needed that, right? Because I came from a broken home, so I needed that support structure.
And the Garden of Dreams is a good foundation
maybe I would have done
too.
it by
If
myself,
you're interested in donating, gardenofdreams.com.
And I think and to this day, I mean, I have executive coaches like constantly pushing me. So it's that extra nudge, you know. I think I could probably do it by myself, but you know, it'll be more painful, I think, if I do it by myself. So it's that support structure to keep on pushing you to achieve your best.
Thank you so much, Jason. This next question is for Samantha. Samantha, what are some examples of how anxiety and depression manifests in our young people?
They have me muted. I don't know.
Sure. So, so for depression, which again, I think a lot of people can probably relate to, that, where again, our young people are coming here and they've had really bad things happen to them. And so to walk in our doors and to feel sort of, helpless and hopeless sort of makes sense. And so, we have young people who struggle to get out of bed in the morning, who struggle sometimes with, taking care of themselves, or taking a shower, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they're up all the time, and they're just exhausted all day long as a result.
Thirsty,
so
not thirsty.
We see that for sure.
This is something
one
that
of
is
the things that we do,
very
and
interesting.
Jason,
I'm doing.
I think it was important that you said one of the things that we should be doing
This
is
is not
checking in with
thirsty at
everybody
all.
as soon as they come in the doors, which I totally agree with. And one of the things that we do in all of our programs is we've implemented something called
This is something I've been planning for the last 3 months.
An assessment. It's a 9-question assessment that assesses for depression and suicidality, that our intake workers do with every single young person who walks in our door, and that our case managers do with every young person when they meet with them for the first time. And the reason that we do it twice is because sometimes we see young people who are really depressed.
I'm outside freezing my ass off for
a couple of
this.
days later. So it's helpful for us to sort of understand, get a little, understand a little bit better what's kind of going on with them. But the other reason is sometimes we see the opposite. Sometimes we see young people who are so grateful and
I'm outside
feel
here.
so relieved to be in our doors the first day, and then 2 or 3 days later it sort of hits them that, like, wow, I'm still kind of in a bad situation, right? I may have a roof over my head and I may have food to eat, but I'm still
the trees out here.
I'm still homeless on some level, and I'm still, things in my life still have gone really badly. So those are some of the things that we see. And so when we sort of get that, when somebody scores sort of high on one of those assessments, myself and Brian at shelter are notified. In the Bronx, we have other social workers who are notified, and then we're always making sure to check in.
This is a wrong chat to be in if you're here for the last audio. Take a seat.
So that's one of the things that we see. Biggest thing, probably.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you. Brian, what are some programs that are in place that the mental health care program offer to our young people? What are some things that you have in place?
Sure. So we have a lot of different programs and evidence-based practices we use with the mental health team. So at our crisis shelter at 41st Street, a few of the things we do. First off, we do short-term individual therapy with our young people. Our social workers can meet with them weekly, twice a week, bi-weekly, whatever the young person chooses for individual counseling. As part of that, also we have our groups. Samantha kind of mentioned it earlier. We have our groups that are kind of DBT based. So we do some skills groups around coping skills and teaching them other ways to try and deal with stress in their lives. So we have those groups that we work with the youth as well as part of our programming. Also, we have our Minds department, which is our supportive housing program. So we have case managers that work with our young people that have experienced a mental health diagnoses and potential psychiatric hospitalizations. And these case managers are able to help them apply for long-term supportive housing. So that's another one of our programs that specifically is housing-based that we are able to help our young people with. We also at our shelter have a collaboration with our anti-human trafficking department, where we run some groups on prevention and empowerment around human trafficking. So that's mainly what we do at our 41st Street shelter.
How long have you been doing this?
Program as well. We have what's called Safe Care. It's an evidence-based model that a bunch of the social workers in the Bronx are doing with our young families, where it's a parenting model, teaching some of our young mothers skills on how to be a parent, skills on how to deal with some of the stresses around that, how to make a healthy home for your child. Another thing we're doing in the Bronx as well is trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, TFCBT. And a bunch of our social workers in the Bronx are trained in this, and they do long-term therapy with our young people. Our Bronx programming tends to be longer term, or can be anywhere from 12 to 24 months, and longer sometimes. So our Bronx social workers are really able to do really good long-term work with our young people. So they use TFCBT to really try and get at what some of the trauma they've dealt with in the past, and take their time in kind of exploring that and letting the young people tell their story. And through that, the young people are able to kind of sometimes find their voice in telling their story, telling their narrative through their trauma. So that's just kind of like a quick overview of some of the programming we have, and our mental health department continues to grow, and we're looking to continue to offer more and more programming to our young people.
How long have you been doing this? How long have you been doing this?
How long has Covenant House, or how long have I been?
How long have you been doing this, and how long has Covenant House been around? I've been out here for about hour and 30 minutes. Donating a lot of time. Been advertising your company for about the last 3 months on my YouTube channel. So I'm putting a lot of effort. I used to work in a residential home in Brooklyn, in Marcy Avenue, and so I understand a lot of stuff what you guys is going through, because I had clients that were in supported housing, that had schizophrenia, that were homeless. I took in somebody back in April. She was kicked out of her home, and now in a couple months she's gonna actually have her own home, and she got her life together. And I used to work for this camp called RampoAnchorageCamp.org. They're a camp, a program based out of New York. They help kids that come from broken homes, that neglected, abused, and I understand a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing here, and this is a very good program you guys run.
Thank you so much, Thank you so much. So, I mean, well, let's open it out to questions to the group. Before we do, real quickly, if we can do it really quickly, can you just explain what trauma informed me? And then we can open it up for questions to the group. Really quickly. Samantha, do you want to take that question? What is trauma informed?
Sure. So trauma informed, just the basics of trauma informed, is understanding that we're talking about what's happened to somebody, and not what's wrong with them, right? So often we hear people, like you were saying, using some language like "you're crazy" or "there's something wrong with you." That, you know, it's not that something's wrong with somebody; it's that something's happened to them. And truly being trauma informed is also knowing that we don't usually know what's happened to them, right? So we're treating everybody from a place where we know that something has happened, most likely, but we don't know what it is, right? So we're always coming from a place of caring and compassion and empathy, right? And so that's what we bring to the work that we do every single day.
Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so now I'm going to open it up to our participants. Open it up to any questions that you have for the panel.
What?
Anyone?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right here.
Okay, Ross?
Yeah, what do you hope to achieve with everything you guys are doing with this program? I've been outside personally for the last hour and a half, because I made a commitment towards this, to do this, because it's a good thing, because we really need to keep the kids off the street and find a solution and make everything better, because you know what? Let me tell you a story. For the last year and a half, my life is turned upside down like everybody else's life. I just got back to working in my full-time job. I was literally almost homeless. I don't know how I made it through the last year and a half, but there was a lot of strong people that looked out for me, and my will and my determination got me through the hard times, and we still have to band together to get everybody that is going through hard times, because you know what, this is not the end, this is only the beginning.
Ross. So I'll answer your question. I'll make it, in essence of time, I'll make it brief. What we hope to accomplish is to raise awareness about this important issue of youth homelessness, raise the important funds so that we can expand the number of young people that we serve, so that we can expand our programming. And we want this movement just to continue to grow. And with the partnership of supporters like you, Ross, we can make this happen. So thank you. Next question.
Hey, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Ned.
Hi, Ned.
How you doing? Thank you all for taking the time to kind of go through this topic. I guess I'm curious about, you know, what more education you do about the simple concept of the power of words. You mentioned a couple of things earlier about letting a lot of the kids decide when they want to talk, you know, and let them have that power, which I think is phenomenal. And, you know, there's the stigma you talked about, there's progress there, but, you know, kind of the way I was raised, you know, like I have to constantly remind myself around, you know, what words that were casual, that like things like crazy, you know, you use it as a punchline, and it's a pretty powerful word, and you have to be cognizant of words like that have been, you know, there's a stigma of the word. So what other educational things can you kind of use, or what do you use, not just with kids, but with anyone who they may interact with that maybe doesn't have that sense, isn't sensitized to the power of words and how impactful that could be?
Samantha, Brian, you want to take that question?
I mean, one of the things that we just sort of try to do, sort of like you were saying, Ned, is just trying to often like use the words that we think are more appropriate. And so I think sometimes when we all start speaking the same language, it helps. It's hard, right? Because you don't want to be like, don't say that. Like that's not, you know, because we also don't want to be like scolding people or not saying the right thing or come across as like we know better or anything like that. So it's often just using the language that we think is helpful and empowering as much as possible. You know, and I think, you know, I guess sometimes correcting in a way that can be helpful as well. Like, oh, you know, this is more of what's going on with this young person. Again, the big one that I would like, you hear a lot is like, what's wrong with somebody, right? And so just when you yourself start to think of it differently, I think it also can be helpful in terms of understanding sort of what someone's behavior is about. So it's hard sometimes for sure, you know, but I think just trying to often come from that place and think in those lines and use the language that is more trauma informed just can be helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And even like for myself, and you know, in talking about our young people, you know, sometimes I have to think about it and making a mistake in saying, which I do often, homeless youth, and that's having the young person owning the issue as opposed to youth experiencing homelessness. So, you know, in changing that phrase, but I'm so guilty of it, and I always have to catch myself because now I'm putting the ownership on the youth that, you know, they're homeless youth, and that's not how they identify themselves. They're just put in the situations as a youth experiencing homelessness. So that's an example.
Yeah, and I would say listening goes more further and provoking discussions opposed to you know, trying to pull information out of the residents because, you know, they may not be ready to talk about their stories, right? And when you talk about things like, and then when you identify themselves as homeless youths, I mean, it'll bring like, you know, like if I put myself back in the 80s and someone said, you know, you're a homeless teenager, I'm like, that's gonna make me feel like crap, right? So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know, I think you all can be cognizant on how we use our words. And you just learn from them, right? You make a mistake and then you learn from that mistake.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
I have one.
Sure.
Okay, I was gonna ask, what advice would you give to students about like working towards breaking the stigma on mental health? Because I know a lot of people like are people of this like the younger generation or younger people now have a lot of I guess new ideas and stuff to bring into like the new world, but a lot of the time when we're in school, a lot of our opinions just get negated because we're younger and we might not know a lot much about the real world, but it is an important problem of mental health. So if you could give like one piece of advice towards breaking the stigma and being more aware of mental health and other people's issues, that'd be great.
Who wants to take that question? Well, I can kind of jump in. I mean, I'm definitely not qualified to answer it, but one thing I would want to say is, I think we all experience some challenges with mental health throughout our life. There's some challenge that we're going to face. And I feel like the more that we talk about it, the more we vocalize what we're going through and kind of share with others, the more it's kind of normalized that, okay, everybody's going through something and you can talk about it. So people don't feel alone or that they're the only person experiencing a challenge. So I feel like the more people talk about it and are vocal about it, the less stigmatized the issue will become. Because I think mental health, again, it's a challenge. It's a challenge that I think anyone can experience. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It just means that you're going through a difficult period, and it's how you go about addressing what you're going through and getting help for it. If that makes sense.
I
Thank you.
I have a teenage daughter, and from my perspective, just more about listening and coaching as needed. And I say as needed because, quite frankly, sometimes, you may be put in a position where, they may not want to hear what you got to say. They just want you to listen. So, yeah, I think that's important.
I just wanted to say something. Hello?
Go ahead, we can
sure.
hear you.
Hi everyone. I'm listening and I just literally found out about Sleep Out. I just want to make a suggestion. I don't know if anybody has watched Understanding the Mind on Netflix. And it really speaks to all of, like the daily anxieties that we have. It gets to like our memory. It gets down to everything. It really explains everything. I've been in a place where I'm like trying to heal myself. I'm 35, and I've experienced homelessness on more than one occasion. And I now have a 17-year-old daughter right now who's a teenage mother. I found Sleep Out, and I found my connection through here. And I was just like looking for a support team, being that I'm going through this transition of my life. So I've been like really finding things to just understand who I am and who I'm becoming. And I'm actually an alumni of the Covenant House. I was in the Covenant House back in like 2024 with my daughter. So I just been trying to understand like why I just been repeating the same cycle. I'm sorry?
But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So I just been trying to understand a lot of like why like a lot of the cycles are being repeated throughout my generation of, history. And that was one of the things that I ran across. So just a suggestion if anybody is interested.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, so just want to give you some thank you again, everyone, for your fundraising efforts. Thank you for participating in this session, and keep fundraising, and we hope to see you back again next year. Again, kudos to you all. I'm going to give you directions on how to get back to your teams. Okay, so for the Accenture, am I missing something? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, before you drop, I just want to thank all the Covenant House staff members for your support and service. It's much needed for our youth today, so thank you very much. All of you.
Like Jay Real would say, much love.
Thank you, Jason, for sharing. Really.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, you were amazing.
So y'all have one more question. How do I join? How do I go about joining a team? How do I go about joining a team?
Joining the Sleep Out team?
Yes, because I was doing.
When you register, you have the option to register individually, and then it will also ask you if you like to join a team. If you know of a team, you can search for it and you can join it, or you can connect with a staff member, and if and we can add you to any existing team.
Okay, yeah.
Is that frozen?
To go, so I'm doing it on my own, but I am interested in it.
So you want to join a team for next time you sleep out?
Yes.
Okay. Well, definitely. Let me get your full name, and then I can reach out to you. What is your name?
Giovanna. Small.
What's your last name?
SMALL. Small. And my email.
Okay. Go ahead.
My email is all small. Girls is plural. 3 @gmail.com.
Okay, I'll reach out to you, or have a Covenant House staff reach out to you, Giovanna. But thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so just thank you guys again. Thank you, and I'm going to give you instructions on how to get back to the smaller groups for Accenture, Cisco, and Delta team. You're going to go to sleepout.org team rooms to join your colleagues. And for everyone else, you're going to go to sleepout.org /reflections. Did you get that? Did everyone get that? Do you need me to repeat it?
We got it.
All right.
Wait,
you got it? All right.
No, please repeat. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I'll do it again. Okay, so for Accenture, Cisco, and the Delta team, you're going to go to sleepout.org.
Jane, who was in that room, will certainly have those numbers that I can get and we can share with you in some follow-ups. I can tell you that just and again, I don't know the statistical numbers, but youth that are identify as LGBTQ plus are often more susceptible to trafficking than their straight cis peers. So that is definitely a big focus of our work with trafficking survivors. But I can certainly find out the exact breakdown, and we can share those statistics in some of the follow-up emails that you'll get.
Thank you so much.
Did anyone else have any questions from their breakout rooms or from the program itself? How about, so we heard from John that it was his 8th sleep out tonight, or will be his 8th sleep out tonight. Are there any new participants who this is your first time sleeping out or engaging with Covenant House in this way?
The first time it's raining outside.
The weather doesn't always cooperate on sleep out night, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I have a feeling some people are muted and they can't unmute, so that's probably a possibility, Megan.
Yeah, everyone should be able to unmute themselves. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a mute button. You can feel free to take yourself off mute. Definitely encourage it.
Hi, Megan. Hi, Megan. It's Wandalyn.
Hi,
Thank you
Wandalyn.
so much. I finally made it and enjoyed all these sessions. It was meant to happen. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Wandalyn, can you tell people a little bit about the day that you and I had?
Oh, yes. Megan, I guess she was late, and she was on the New Jersey Transit train, and I met her there, and as I was getting on the train in Metro Park, and I saw her shirt that said Covenant House, and because I actually sat by her, and I said, let me ask her a question. I asked her, and that's how we began our conversation. And then I informed her that Covenant House, I said, I was a resident of Covenant House before they even opened up 41st Street. And I was actually a resident. They had a group home on 11th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. And I told her, the whole ride, which was almost an hour, I told her a lot about a lot of experiences that I had, a lot of things that I was doing. And she grateful, and it was a great connection. This is the first day I found out about the sleep out. She told me about all the great things that are happening, and basically it means I was almost 50 years ago, I was a resident of Covenant House.
Wow.
And I'm looking forward to volunteer and do something and partner with you guys. Thank you very much for welcoming.
Thank you, Wandalyn, and thank you so much for joining tonight. And it was so special to meet you this afternoon. And there was a reason I was running very late this morning. So I'm so glad that we got to spend that time together, and that you got to join tonight and see some, like, a lot has changed in the past years that Covenant House has been around.
Yeah, and a lot of great things, even the things that I joined the mental health breakout, and even seeing and understanding that it's so true that you have to meet people where they are, and just the acceptance and giving the people their power back to say, having the ability to say, well, okay, yes, I want to speak, or the ways you engage with the residents, And I was thinking about when we were talking about words, you were saying even the word homelessness. I was saying, no, I didn't experience homelessness. I was thinking about the word displacement. That's what I'm experiencing displacement, and it's okay, that kind of thing. So it was very great, and it's informative, and even to find out how, like, Covenant House is like 31 states. I mean, and on the partners that you have, the investors that you have, which is so great, and the years and the dedication that they have, and everybody seems so dedicated, and keep it going, and I, hope to be a part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. Thank you.
And Jeff S.,
is on and was also a former resident from 1979. It is so special to have residents, former residents joining us so many years later. We're so grateful for the amazing community of alumni that we have. So thank you so much for staying in touch with us. We hope that you're proud of all of the things that have changed in the past several years. There's a lot of exciting things happening. So thank you so much for joining.
Most definitely. I mean, I was just interviewed with the New York live production. I enjoyed it so much to be able to speak of my time there in 1979 over in New Orleans, Houston, and Covenant House and stuff, and living on the streets and being homeless, trafficking when I was trafficked as a child, and sold on.
Yeah, I'm taking the computer inside. Everything's going inside. Everything's starting to get wet. Ugh. Gotta get my computer before it gets destroyed.
Story was shared. He's an artist in New Orleans who is incredibly talented, and one of the things that his caseworker was adamant about when he was working with him to find an apartment was that there was room for his artwork. So it really is, making sure that Covenant House isn't just a roof over a head and a bed to sleep in. It's Kevin Ryan says helium for kids' dreams, and that's just making sure that we are supporting all aspects of the young people who come through our doors. So thank you so much, and thank you for sharing this experience together, Michael and Andy. That's really special. Anyone else have anything that's gonna be the thing that sticks with you as you're falling asleep? And I know you don't always know that right now. It might not come to you until you go to lay down on the hard ground, but anything that...
Hi, how are you this evening? It's Lydia from New York.
Hi, how are you?
Good. This is our first time. I'm joining this organization with my two sons that are 22 and 21. And I wanted them to have this experience and really understand, being a youth that grew up in New York City myself, often slept on park benches, abandoned buildings. And two beautiful sons, really three, only two with me today. And I did not know about Covenant House growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, subjected to, I heard stories earlier today in some of the groups, sleeping on park benches, abandoned buildings, elevators, broken elevators, and being subjected to all kind of abuse because you're living on the streets, trying to just find shelter and a safe place. As opposed to going into an organization like the Government House, I ended up in diagnostic centers because obviously the laws in New York State, and also into group homes where I experienced abuse as well because some of the counselors were not appropriate to be in those positions. And
Hello?
it's a very time period. I am fortunate. I am extremely fortunate. And it started at the age of 13 for myself. And not many of my friends that were out there with me survived. So it was I was very happy to hear about this organization. I wanted my children, although it started to rain, like someone mentioned, we're sleeping in the garage, which is still something for them that they're not used to, on the on the concrete, and just so they have a better understanding that there are young teenagers out there, men and women that are dealing with this tonight and throughout COVID and are not as fortunate to have a warm place to crawl into, or a family that cares and that is supportive. So I'm very pleased to hear the stories and being a part of this evening, and look forward to supporting you even more. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing the sleep out with your children. And it is 21, 20. These are their peers that are walking through the door of Covenant House. So it is really special that you're sharing it with them. And thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself with us.
You're doing a good job, Megan. I've been doing this at least 2 hours straight now. I'm hoping to do it until probably
You mentioned
midnight.
that you were sleeping on the garage floor tonight, and I know that some people who are returning sleepers maybe have participated in an in-person event before. A lot of people are first timers and are only know the sleep out as a virtual event, and it really, giving up your bed can mean anything tonight. It can mean sleeping on the floor next to your bed. It can mean sleeping in your backyard. But one of the things that when we first had to go, pivot to this to be a virtual event, that I was thinking about, that one of my colleagues in California said, and I say it every time we do one of these conversations, is, this is not replicating being homeless. This is the point of this is not to pretend that you're homeless for the night. It's giving up your bed in a show of solidarity with the young people and the former residents that you've met tonight. But the experience of, if you are sleeping out at home and sleeping on the floor or in your backyard and you're by yourself or you're with your children, is a lot more similar to the experience that a young person might have before they come to Covenant House than if we were all, together in one big space. So just, as you're falling asleep, making sure that you are kind of thinking about that, of what it would be like every night if you were, trying to figure out where you could get out of the rain. There's no wrong way to sleep out. There's wherever you're sleeping tonight is a great way to experience this event, as long as you go to sleep keeping our young people in mind and thinking about the things that you learned.
Bathtubs work too. I have a friend that's actually sleeping in bathtub.
That's a good one. I don't know that we've heard that one before from a virtual sleep out, but I like that. We'll put that in the list of places.
Maybe it's good with the rain coming.
Stay dry in the bathtub.
I wish
Does anyone else
I wish more people would do this. Let me tell you something. I'm a YouTuber, okay? I'm a variety channel on YouTube, right? I have a lot of friends that do slot channels, right? I wish more of them would do something like this. Get a part of like a sleep out program and donate their time because you never know. It could be you. You never know. I have friends that are YouTubers that they were homeless for a long time and they didn't know where they were sleeping every night. They didn't know where they were gonna be every night. But eventually, they got into the program and now they have their own place.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is a really important thing to remember, that you don't know what the people that you're meeting are going through. And if you were to meet some of the young people that come into our facilities, they're getting up and going to school every day. They're getting up and going to work every day, regardless of where they slept the night before. And some of them you would never ever know. So thank you so much for sharing that, Ross. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Does anyone else have anything from a breakout room that they want to share? Because remember, we all joined different breakout rooms, so not everyone got to hear all of the stories that you might have. So I just would love to hear if there's anything that's especially standing out from the breakout discussion that you joined.
I have one. The breakout room I joined was kind of focused on explaining what Sleep Out does for, or what Covenant House does for people suffering with mental health challenges. And one of the biggest things that they did bring up was breaking the stigma on mental health, especially. And I thought that was really important because as much as one of the ways that they explained it was, even when people ask the questions, what's wrong with you? That implies that something is wrong with somebody for having emotions. And it's a natural thing and they're valid emotions. And I feel as though Covenant House itself has, what we learn through what they do and their therapy opportunities with social workers and actual therapists, it just shows, it goes to show how much they really get into trying to help people battle their challenges, because a lot of people do struggle with mental issues. And I think that it was a really nice thing to be, even just starting somewhere small with the words that you use to describe what you're talking about, it can really change somebody's perspective on it. Like, instead of saying what's wrong with you, say, hey, do you have anything that's potentially affecting you, good or bad right now, and do you want to talk about it? Speaking in those ways instead of speaking in ways that make it seem have just negative connotation in general. I feel as though that can really help, especially with something as big as mental health and the stigma that has. So yeah, that was what I took away.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lauren. That's exactly what we hope everyone would take away from a discussion around how we tackle mental health and wellness at Covenant House. And Dr. April, if you don't mind coming off of mute, I see you pop up. Dr. April is an expert in this topic.
I missed that because my telephone was malfunctioning.
Oh no, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Lauren just was talking about what she learned in the mental health breakout room, which Dr. April is one of our board members and has been a part of many sleep outs and has contributed to a lot of our discussions around mental health. And how even just the words that we use are so important.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stuck out to me that I've thought about before from listening to it is, there's are the things on stigma about mental health and homelessness. And one thing I just want to say about Covenant House staff, I can't say enough good things about them, but a lot of the youth coming to Covenant House do not have safe families they're coming from. And Covenant House, for me, and I know for many youth, that acts as a surrogate family that can model healthy behaviors, that can model that language that destigmatizes mental health and homelessness. And I just want to give you guys props for doing that. The staff does an amazing job, and the importance of that cannot be overstated.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Megan and everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm here with my son. We're participating in the sleep out today for the first time.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I too was homeless as a teen. My story is a little different in the sense where I had a vehicle to sleep in. So I was safe in a sense, but at the same time, it was difficult. What I've learned from this experience or partaking in tonight is that Covenant House was there and I had no knowledge of it. And being someone that's from the Caribbean, mental health is not looked at seriously. We are not taken seriously. And because I was not made aware of certain things that were made available to me, I ended up becoming a mother at a later age and putting my son into a situation of mental health by being with someone who was toxic and ended up being violent. And because I later in life learned about how to take care of my mental health, I was able to help him as well. And reading about Caroline and Angela Lease, I think is the name.
Yeah.
It put things into perspective for me to know that there are other people out there that went through something similar, had similar issues. It was just an eye-opening, and I want to thank you guys, and I really appreciate that you guys are doing this.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for joining tonight. You said a lot of really important things that I hope everyone thinks about when they're going to sleep, and one of them is that you were in a similar situation when you were young and you didn't know about Covenant House, and that's one of the reasons why tonight is so important. For those of you who may have joined other rooms, across our federation tonight, we had over 37,000 donors, and that was several hours ago, so I'm sure that number has gone up pretty exponentially. But that's 37,000 more people on the planet that know about Covenant House and that know about the crisis of young people facing homelessness. And that's a big deal. So the more people that know about Covenant House, the more young people will know about Covenant House and know that there is Covenant House there to turn to when they need it. And then the other thing that you mentioned was, Carolina and Angelise, for those of you who didn't open that email in your inbox, is available on the Sleep Out website. It's an amazing story. Carolina was a resident of Covenant House when her daughter Angelise was 2. We do have mother and child programs at several of our locations, and New York City is one of them. And just all of the healing that they did together as a family at Covenant House. And now Angelise is off in college in New Orleans, and Carolina has also gone back to college. So just these stories really do come full circle, and talking about things like generational trauma and approaching the care of all of our youth from trauma-informed care, and assuming that if someone is coming to us facing homelessness, they have endured some sort of trauma, and approaching the way that we take care of them from that lens is really, really important. So thank you so much for sharing your story and for
You pointed out so many important things, and I just really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions from tonight, or things that surprised you from the conversations that you had?
I just found out.
I was very surprised at the percentage that are black and brown, and that there's such a huge issue with systemic racism. And I'm just wondering if you have resources on your site about that.
We do, yes. If you go to covenanthouse.org and click on issues, there's a whole section on how race influences homelessness and huge disparity that there is between not just the amount of young people that we serve that are of color, but in the outcomes for them. I know in the video that we showed tonight, Lennon Moore from Covenant House, New Jersey, talked about the likelihood of a white resident or a black or brown resident getting a job from, out of Covenant House is not the same. And just the ways that we can most importantly acknowledge that, but also the ways that we can play a part in changing the outcomes for those young people is really important. Yes, there are more resources on our website where you can learn a little bit more about those statistics and the reasons behind them. And it's work we're continuing to do. We are continuing to invest in diversity, equity, inclusion at a staff level as well, because everything that we do trickles down to our young people. So it's so important. It's been on the forefront of our work for a while, and especially visible in the last few years. And there is a lot more to learn about it. The video that was shown during some of the first hour of programming is really powerful, but there is a lot more to dive into. If you go to the covenanthouse.org website and click on issues, you'll see a little bit more information about that.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you calling that out. Anyone else have anything that surprised them or that they weren't expecting from tonight's program?
Hi, Megan. I just wanted to say thank you. This is our first time sleeping out. I'm here with my teenage kids, and we're here on behalf of the Comcast Unites team.
Thank you so much.
Yes, no, we're privileged to participate in this important cause and this experience. We live in New York, and I think the amount of homeless youths that we see around is both it's heartbreaking and upsetting, but I think organizations like the Covenant House and nights like tonight really help to support the cause and raise awareness, and really, because I think the younger generation both is so invested in advocating for change, and they're such great activists that I think supporting them in a way that gives them the voice and the resources and the comfort of a home, or knowing there's an organization like this is incredibly important. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Michelle, and thank you everyone who's sharing this experience with your children or your family. It is really important, and the way that we're going to be able to continue our work is the younger generation getting involved, and just knowing that these are their peers. We're anyone that your kids are in school with could be facing homelessness, and just having the knowledge that there is a place like Covenant House, and sharing that knowledge with all of the people that you reached out to for donations, or just to tell that you were sleeping out tonight. All of that has a really big effect on the way we're able to serve young people. So thank you so much.
I wish more people would do this, because you know something, like it's a good thing everybody coming together, but there's still so much more to be done. It's never ending. It's like
Yeah,
you just
thank you so
never
much,
know.
Ross. There is, yeah. And after, obviously the past 20 months or so have been so difficult for everyone with the pandemic, but as we are not coming out of it, but as we are moving into a different phase of it, we are expecting to see the rates of homelessness among young people rise in the aftermath. So there is more work to do, and we're really grateful that we have so many of you in it with us. So we are winding down on our time together tonight. If anyone has anything else that they want to share or talk about in the next couple of minutes, and then we do have, we are going to end the night with just a little video that we've made. At our in-person events, we usually end the night with a candlelight vigil. As important as it is to celebrate all of the wins of the former residents that you all met tonight, it's also important to remember that, especially in this past year, we also lose people to circumstances of that young people face before they come to Covenant House. And just taking a moment before we go to sleep to recognize and remember that is always really important. So that is how we're going to end in a couple of minutes, but I do just want to give space to anyone else who wants to share anything about their experience tonight so far.
Experience.
I would love, do any returning sleepers have advice for first timers tonight? I think one thing I can tell everyone who is sleeping out tonight for the first time is that tonight will probably be tough, and the hard part starts tomorrow. We do this on a Thursday for a very specific reason, because our young people do have to get up the next day and go to school, go take classes, go to work. So knowing that you're going to get up tomorrow and have to go about your day as though you didn't sleep on your garage floor, and thinking about that throughout your day is important and is probably going to be tough. And we definitely hope we'll have another opportunity to have a similar conversation to this tomorrow morning after you've spent your night wherever it is you're giving up your bed. So definitely hope everyone can join us in the morning as well, and just keep all of the young people that you met tonight in your mind as you're falling asleep tonight, and even more importantly as you're going about your day tomorrow. And share what you learned tonight. Like, even tonight before you go to bed, send an email to everyone who donated to you and let them know that it matters and it makes a big difference. And that's all that I would encourage you to do before you fall asleep is, sharing what you learned from tonight's program with, if you share it with one other person, that's one more person who knows. So yeah, I'll pause if there's anyone that wants to share anything else, and then we do have a quick video, and we'll sign off for the night. But again, we'll be back here in the morning to talk some more if you want to, or answer any questions.
Megan, just one more note. The contrast from one side of the street to the other, and again, 8 years or 8 times doing it, 10 years it's been in existence, but you have the kids looking out the window in the old building, and the funny thing is, they're like, these people are crazy, sleeping out on the street, giving up their beds. And then on the other side of the street, you have people in a high-rise, wonderful condominium, glass of wine looking at us, asking, are those people crazy? So, again, it's a wonderful thing you all do at Covenant House, honestly. And it's a great experience if you haven't slept out. I wish I could have been there tonight. I'm doing it virtually, but I wish I could have been there tonight for the first time of the new building. But sure, hopefully next year for sure. God bless you all. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Thank you so much, John. We can't wait to have you at the new building.
I'll be there.
Oh, good. And John mentioned the young people at Covenant House looking out the window. It does mean a lot to them that all of you are sleeping out tonight. We, have them join parts of the program and tell them all about what's going on and the thousands of people across the country that are sleeping out from them. And it means a lot. So it means a lot to us, the staff of Covenant House, but it is really special for our young people that so many people are willing to give up their beds for them. So keeping that in mind too as you're falling asleep tonight.
Megan?
Yes.
We're here with Jeff in San Antonio, and first of all, it's just such a wonderful opportunity for us in Barnaby and in the San Antonio area, in spite of the very high numbers of our homeless youth. This is our first time bringing it this area. It's even shocked folks will say when we talk to them about doing it, so many unawares. And so, after we do this one, first thing in the morning, is to prepare for next year. We're so happy to be part of this. So, San Antonio is definitely here represented. So we appreciate everything you all are doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for helping the movement grow. That's exactly how it does grow, is, telling more people about what you're doing tonight and bringing them along next year. So thank you. Well, thank you all so much. This was such a special conversation. I'm so grateful that you joined this after 2 hours of other heavy and important conversations that you had. So thank you so much for sharing so much and being so present and taking so much away from this experience so far. And it is just starting. You are about to go sleep out. But before you do, we do just have a quick Candlelight Vigil video to share that is very special and means a lot. So if you'll bear with me for one moment while I just share my screen, and then we'll part for the night and meet back here at the same link at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow if you're able to join, and then we'll also be back at 10 a.m. Eastern if you are not as much of a morning person. We'll be back at both times and hopefully continue the conversation and hear how you feel upon waking up tomorrow. So thank you all so much, and I am going to share this video with you now. thank you all so much. I'll hang out while everyone's trickling out of the room. If you have anything else that you want to ask in a smaller setting, but thank you so much. These, like I said, when you are laying down tonight, just keep our youth in your mind. All of the amazing young people and former residents that you met tonight. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sleeping out.
Megan, I have a question.
Of course.
I had some individuals that registered this evening on my fundraising page to participate, but they're not showing on the roster, or they haven't received an email or anything to begin collecting money for the event.
Let me. Sorry, I'm gonna log into the back end while we're on.
You helped me get started, so I figured you'd be able to figure it out.
And someone just asked in the chat, do we connect through another link throughout the night? There is no overnight live stream, but if you're not quite ready to turn off yet, there is an overnight toolkit linked in a bunch of different places on the website with more videos, more activities, and a couple of articles and different reading. So if you do want some more, you can keep up a little bit with the overnight toolkit. We have some really great, even more great stories to share. Thank you, John. All right, Jeff, can you, so they signed up to be on your team, or?
Because right now it's just showing me and Rosalind, but there three more were added to it this evening, and I figured everybody was busy, so but they show pending or on the thing. They haven't received anything like that, so they can begin collecting.
I went inside and started.
Can you remind me of your team name, Jeff?
Started reading and I went inside.
You know what, I'm not seeing it synced over yet. If you can send an email to the sleep out inbox, sleepout@covenanthouse.org. We've got someone manning that all night, so they should be able to help you out and make sure that all of your teammates get the info that they need. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you for sharing with everyone. And Michaela, yes, we will come back in the morning at 8 a.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Eastern. There will be more reflections. It's this same link. So if you go to sleepout.org/reflections in the morning and click into it, you will join us once again. And again, we'll have a similar discussion and just kind of talk about how your night went. So we hope to see everyone again in the morning. Thank you, Michaela.
Megan, where are you located? I might have forgotten that.
Yeah, so I am sitting right now in our New York City office.
Oh, you're in New York. Awesome.
Yeah, this is our headquarters. So I actually live in New Jersey, but work in our New York City office.
And it's on 41st Street?
So our New York shelter is 41st and 10th, right by Port Authority. Our headquarter office right now is at 5 Penn Plaza.
I used to work on 42nd and 9th. I worked for $11.99, and we were on 46th. We were right down the road. That's crazy, and I never
Right
knew
around
that.
the corner. Yeah.
And so now, because we were next door to Port Authority, and I heard the area has really mean, the homelessness has increased. It's really bad, right?
It has, which is part of the reason why it was so important to us to keep, to build the new shelter right there too. Because we want to be, that beacon for young people who are homeless in the area. It's, with Port Authority right there, there is a lot of trafficking, and we're placed there on purpose for sure.
Yeah, and even after COVID coming back, because now we relocated. We're on.
Well, I'm not
36th
shutting down.
Street, 7th, and just the amount again of homeless, regardless of age, at this point, it's just enormous. It's tremendous.
Yeah.
And the mental illness, so as you were talking about with the other groups, it's just I mean, being a little older, it's like literally going back to the 80s. It's really, really sad how much it is out there right now. And
Am I up? Of course I'm
Go
up.
ahead.
No, please.
Well, I was just gonna say that's one of the things that's so important to us as a whole organization. Is it's not just a roof over the head, it's not just a shelter. It is, if you don't address the mental illness or underlying traumas, it's really hard to break that cycle. And we don't want to just be a roof overhead for a night. We want to be a true path to independence for young people experiencing homelessness, and that's the only way to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Thank you so much. It's good to
Thank you, and thank you for sharing so much tonight. It's really moving to hear your stories. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for involving your family.
Thank you.
I was wondering, so this is my, I guess, third year participating. I was just trying to find some information on how Covenant House started. Or like, it says who started it, but like, I was just wondering what the background was and how you came up with the idea.
Yeah, so I believe the church that our founder was involved with was in Midtown Manhattan. And they're, at the time, this is our 50th anniversary. So 50 years ago, there was an especially rampant homelessness crisis in that area specifically. So that is how we started. How our building on 41st Street came to be is there's a little bit of yore around it, that a large gift from John Lennon and Yoko Ono helped us start the first big Covenant House shelter. And that's the shelter that we were in until last week when we moved into our brand new building next door.
That's very good.
That's thanks for that. Because Covenant has like some kind of religious kind of.
Yeah, so we were founded by a Catholic priest. We are not a religious organization.
As I feared.
Yeah, we do have, opportunities for youth who are practicing of any religion. There's non-denominational, they're called different things. Some of them are called chapels, some of them at our different shelters, but there's always the opportunity for youth to connect to their faith if they are practicing, but we are not affiliated with any religion and not a religious organization. I know that the name would sometimes suggest otherwise, but we think of the covenant as just the promise to our youth.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the discussion.
Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Good night.
Thanks, Jason.
Bye.
Good night.
Why am I on mute?
Everyone, well, thank you so much. We actually have to jump back to our program and do this all again for our West Coast friends. So I'm going to end this room for now. Please feel free to reach out to our inbox at sleepout@covenanthouse.org if overnight you think of any questions, and please do join us again in the morning right at this same link at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern. We definitely want to connect again in the morning before you go about your day. So thank you all so much, and hopefully we'll see you in the morning.
Okay. So, how did everybody enjoy that? I thought that was pretty good. It is raining outside right now. Um, I don't care that people thumbs down this because you're not really helping. You're not really hurting me. This was a good opportunity to see, to interact and see what people are joining all together. Like, see, when your thumbs down something like this, you're not really doing it. You're not really doing anything right. You gotta realize it's not. This is not about me. This is about somebody else. This is about keeping kids off the street, keeping kids out of sex trafficking. This is a once a year thing they're doing. So I really wish other channels would do something like this because it shows that you care. It shows that you're more than just one thing. It shows that you care a lot. That's why we're a variety channel because you know what? We're different. And different is good because you can't be the same. Being the same is boring. So I'm gonna continually do more different things, and we're gonna keep having a good time. It is tiring doing this. I guarantee you. I'm working 70 plus hours a week. I did this program today. Had a couple hours sleep. Um, could we leave the stream running all night? We can. We could we could leave the stream running all night. And people could come in and and say hi, even if I'm sleeping. You know, will it overheat? I don't think so. It's only during the summer. That's only when I had that crappy phone. Yeah? Are you gonna be up for the moon? I don't know. It's gonna be raining outside. It's really, really tough. I didn't go to the dentist today. I was too tired. I rescheduled it. The weekend of the 3rd, I got 3 dentist appointments. It's very tough trying to fit everything in. It's really tough trying to fit everything into the schedule. It's very tough. Trying to be awake enough for stuff. Any AC trips planned? Yes. I want to go the 13th. 13th, I'm off in the garden. That's a Monday. And the 19th, I'm off. 19th I'm off, and the 24th I'm off. So one of those 3 dates I could go down. I either could stay at Harris, or I could stay at Hard Rock. Because I don't know what they charge to stay at Bagada, to tell you the truth. I don't know why Bagada doesn't have 1 to 4 boost gold or the bad game boosted. I figured they would have that. I like the South Tower. South Tower is really good. Has anybody seen the new game Dune? Has anybody seen the new game Dune? You know? I like the game Dune. 1 to 4 boost gold is really tough. Yeah, 1 to 4 boost gold is very tough. I find that extremely tough. The game. It's harder to get the bonuses on that game than the original. Yeah, former San Manuel has all the good games. The former San Manuel Casino will probably get the new Eureka Blast and new Lightning Link Dollar Link before anybody else. They seem to get a lot of the new machines before anybody else. Aristocrat. See, I really feel like this channel's come a long way. And even if your thumbs down to me or whatever, you're not hurting this channel. You're absolutely positively not hurting me or the channel. Because the way I see stuff is different than the way other people see stuff. You know? And tonight wasn't about me. Tonight was about so much more. So if people can't understand stuff like that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry they don't realize, stuff. I'm sorry, but not sorry. wish people would understand stuff, to tell you the truth. Yeah, very much. Yeah, I understand what's going on there. The residential home I worked in was very much like Covenant House. Yeah, so I understand a lot going on. I understand everything that, everything that is important, I mean, yeah, I wish other channels would actually step it up and, do these fundraisers and stuff because they seem to be, yeah, we're popular in the casino, but if we're not in the casino, we're not gonna stream, kind of thing. You know what I think about that? I think that's all bullshit. To tell you the truth, gambling does not help. Gambling does not help anybody but the casino. Gambling only helps the casino. It doesn't help you. Addictions are hard to beat. Uh, what is a hot penny number 2? So I could watch a million slot channels, right? But they're basically all the same, Go to the casino, win or lose, show the same slot machines, you know. And I'm not bitter or anything, I work multiple jobs, I'm tired. I'm just really tired. I'm just literally tired. I'm tired of the bullshit, I'm tired of I'm tired of like I'm tired of like everybody ganging up on me. I'm tired of people taking sides and shit. I'm really tired of a lot. You know, and tonight wasn't even about me. Tonight was about so much more. We got a lot of haters. Every day I have a lot of hate. The only time I don't have hate is when I'm doing The only time I don't have hate is when I'm doing my short videos. When I'm actually going live, people kind of hate that because they kind of hate the truth. They kind of hate the truth of how I talk, how I walk, how I look. Go tell Jay Fake he can help you. I don't think anybody can help me. Only person that can help me is actually myself. No, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I'm really, really, really tired. I'm trying to do so much in a little time. It's not easy. When I first started this channel, I had nobody watching. Now that I have people watching, people understand where I'm coming from. I think the only reason they like other people is because they they don't feel threatened by other people. They feel threatened by me for some reason. You know, I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of walking every day. I'm really not home that much. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I would have never had the opportunity to build build relationships. I would never had the opportunity to meet so many awesome people. I would never have the opportunity to do a lot of things. You know, a lot has changed in the last. A lot has changed in the last year and a half of my life. A little bit older, a little bit wiser. I realize who my friends are and who's not. I realize Brad is my friend, you know, and he looks out for me, and he cares. And I realize I know Brad. I know Brad cares a lot. Like I said, I know him since 1994. That's only, you know, he's dealing with his own demons. I think everybody has their own demons in life. Oh, the guy from the Angels won the MVP. And Phillies superstar Harper wins second career MVP. And the Patriots are beating the Falcons 25-0. Wow. And Matt Jones is on fire. Who would have thought that the Patriots would actually have a winning record? I would have never thought that. I would have never thought that Patriots would actually be in almost first place. I did get to watch the new Ghostbusters movie. It was okay. It wasn't great. You know, I don't think it was that great. Ugh. Oh, they released more superstars from the WWE roster. They released John Morrison, Top Dollar, Shante, Adonis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, Shane Thorne, and Jackson Ryder. Man, oh man, what the hell are they doing? More WWE releases. What the hell is going on? Why would you bring these guys up to the main roster just for them to be released? They released John Morrison. I think Vince lost his mind a long time ago. So that's 8 more people. Tegan Knox they already got rid of. Shane Thorne, Drake Maverick they got rid of. Shane Thorne they got rid of. Jackson Ryder, Riker. Why would you bring up? Why would you? What? Why would you bring up Top Dollar Isaiah Swerve Scott? You know, hit row and just release everybody. It makes no sense. It makes no sense what's going on. They just releasing people left and right. Why would you want to go to a company that? Why would you want to go to a company like that? Don't understand. Man, they're totally screwing the fans. Jeez Louise. I think WWE has lost their mind. I really, really, really lost their mind. Absolutely. That Angels pitcher that won the MVP is probably gonna win the Cy Young. He should win these. He should win the Cy Young. He won the MVP of the National League. I mean American League, and Bryce Harper won it for the National League. I don't see how. I don't see how WWE is gonna like. I just don't. I just, you know. Now, now John Morrison's out of work for 3 months. His wife is only out of work for 30 days. John Morrison could go either back to Impact or he could go to Ring. Well, not Ring of Honor. He could go to AEW, Impact, New Japan. Man, it sucks. It really sucks how they're screwing people over. And they gotta stop that. Ugh. Yeah, we're gonna call it. Yeah, we're gonna call it a night because I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. Thanks for watching Sleep Out in New York City. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And thank you for watching Russ's What Variety channel. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. And thanks for donating your time to watch me do something different than I usually do. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.